Hey guys, welcome back to the Book and Movie channel. I'm here this week in the best Targaryen cosplay I can slap together to cover the first season of House of the Dragon. I know I said I would do V for Vendetta this week, but I had so much fun reading this book that I changed my mind. And since House of the Dragon is just one season in, and this book starts at the real beginning with Aegon the Conqueror, I'm going to make several revisits of this one, just like I did with The Handmaid's Tale and The Stand, to name a few. I kind of thought I would look and feel a lot prettier in this cosplay than I actually do, but what can I say? I'm not my brother. Alright, first off, this book reads like a history book. Not much dialogue, and it's even prefaced as a history book, transcribed by George R.R. Martin as everything that was explained to him by Archmaester Gildane of the Citadel of Oldtown. And since it reads like a history book, more time is spent on the more interesting members of House Targaryen. I'll do the same in my retelling here, starting at the actual beginning. When Aegon, along with his sister wives Rhaenys and Visenya, planned their conquest from Dragonstone, the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros weren't at all what they were at the start of Game of Thrones, except the North. The Starks held the North since day one. But to cut right to the chase, before the conquest, the Stormlands belonged to House Durrandon, the Reach to House Gardner, and the Riverlands to a number of Ironborn houses. As we all know, those places changed hands to the Baratheons, the Tyrells, and the Tullys. But the Ironborn weren't ground into the dirt like these other houses we didn't hear about in Game of Thrones were. They were given to the Iron Islands and told to pick themselves another leader. And that's how the Greyjoys came to be the foremost Ironborn house. And throughout the whole book, there is one uprising from Dorne after another. Like they just won't play ball. And as for House Tully, a pattern is noticeable. It starts here with Lord Grover and ends with Lord Kermit. And in between there is Sir Elmo and Sir Oscar. So, River Run is how to get to Sesame Street. Awesome. Alright, back to our House of the Dragon. Now that they've conquered and remade the Seven Kingdoms, they start families. And yeah, ew, I get it. Alright, from Aegon and Visenya came Maegor the Cruel. And even though he was third on the Iron Throne, I'm going a little bit out of order based on details. Maegor the Cruel wasn't cruel like Ramsay Bolton or Joffrey Baratheon. He was cruel like Tywin Lannister. Everything and everyone had a purpose and was a means to an end of some sort. He took a total of 6 wives, 5 of them in one night, known as the Black Brides because this was not a happy event. And Maegor's death was highly suspicious. He was found literally stuck to the Iron Throne like he was shoved, and had pitched backward and landed on several of the partially melted swords that make up the Iron Throne. Alright, at the same time, from Aegon and Rhaenys came Aenys the First. Yeah, the spelling will throw you off just a second and make you think bad thoughts. Well, dirty thoughts. He was on the Iron Throne before Maegor the Cruel, but he wasn't the control freak that Maegor was. He married his cousin Alyssa Velaryon, and 6 kids came from them. Rhaena, Aegon, Jaehaerys, Alysanne, Viserys, and Vaela. 2 couples came from this brood. Rhaena married Aegon and they had twin daughters, Rhaella and Arya. Not spelled the same as Arya Stark. Anyway, Rhaella joined the faith and became a septa. And Arya was a little shit with anger issues. She assigned crass nicknames to members of her court. She dumped the contents of a chamber pot over the head of a maester. And in a final fit of rage, she hopped the back of a dragon and disappeared for a few years. When she returned, the dragon was fine, but she was dying. She was skeletally thin, with smoke coming from her insides. It was never discovered what it was she got into, just that she was crawling with worms and burning to death from the inside out. And right around the time, people started to really frown upon sibling marriages and heirs born of incest, Jaehaerys and Alysanne, two of Aenys and Alyssa's kids, couldn't wait to get hitched. So much so that they eloped on Dragonstone and became a much loved king and queen anyway. Jaehaerys was known as the conciliator, Alysanne as the good queen, and they inspired and brought people together. They had 13 kids. They had, get ready for this, Daela, Vagon, Velaryon, or Valerian, kind of like valerian root, the stuff that helps you go to sleep. Visera, Majal, Sarah, Balon, Alyssa, Gaemon, Gale, Daenerys, and Aemon. All right. Daela was mousy and jumped at her own shadow. She married the most unintimidating lord they could find for her, Roderick Arryn of the Vale. Vagon Targaryen was humorless and loved to hide in books and found the idea of marriage revolting. He joined the Citadel and became a Grand Maester. Not much is said about Valerian and Visera. Majal also joined the Citadel as a septa. Sarah Targaryen was an untamable party girl, and she was quick to invite suitors to her bedroom but wouldn't pick just one to marry. And eventually she ran away, got herself disowned, and she ran to across the narrow sea. She joined a pleasure house and actually made a very lucrative career of her horizontal appetite. Balon and Alyssa Targaryen were a sibling couple. They got married, and Balon was a prospective king for a short time. He didn't live long enough to sit the Iron Throne, since after Jaehaerys, the throne passed right to Balon's son Viserys, which is now where now the book and the show start to connect. House of the Dragon starts with the passing of the throne from Jaehaerys to Viserys, just like in the book. A lot of narration of events to come are delivered in the form of hearsay from a dwarf and court fool known as Mushroom, who served Viserys and then Rhaenyra. Anyway, Viserys was married to his cousin Aemma Arryn, the only child of Daela Targaryen and Roderick Arryn, which explains why an Arryn would have the Targaryen silver hair. They had Rhaenyra, and then she died having Balon, who we know didn't make it either. It's going forward from here that the book and the show diverge a little bit, starting with the role Alicent Hightower played. In the book, she is 10 years older than Rhaenyra, and she comforted and read to King Jaehaerys in his dying days. And she was never besties with Rhaenyra during their youth. Rhaenyra was nicknamed the Delight of the Realm, but behind closed doors she was the baby Jane of House Targaryen. She was a brat, especially when Alicent became her stepmother. And Viserys' slowly failing health was not due to what looks like to be an uncontrollable staph infection. He was jolly and overweight, lending some potential to a possible, maybe in a distant future fan theory that Santa Claus is a Targaryen, and King Viserys' passing was of a heart attack. Daemon Targaryen was a pretty close match from book to show. He was a wild card and nicknamed Lord Fleabottom because in the book that's where he could be found most of the time. He was married to Rhea Royce, but he hated her. He kept company with his rented side chick even after he married Rhaenyra in the book. He's definitely the rogue prince in both book and show, but the show softens him a bit after he's married to Rhaenyra. He also does defeat the crab feeder with Corlys Velaryon at his side. And Rhaenyra, she takes after her old man and gets quite chubby, especially after having 6 children and never losing any of the baby weight. And Aegon II. is not the sadist in the book that he is in the show. He doesn't violate any serving girls, and even though it isn't expressly stated in any episode, he is married to his sister Helena and has 3 kids with her in the book and the show. And he is as equally allergic to responsibility between the book and the show and has to be dragged to his own coronation by Aemond. As for his indiscretions, yes, he passes his you know what around like a bowl of Thanksgiving yams and sires an army of illegitimate children, but he's not violent or cruel. Aemond is pretty much a match from book to show. He lost an eye in a fight with his cousins after he made Vhagar his dragon. And speaking of Vhagar, Lena does not jump in front of her and demand a dragon rider's death when it becomes obvious to her that she won't survive, delivering her 3rd child. And also, it does seem like the immediate ascension of Aegon II, circumventing Rhaenyra, and the death of Lucerys Velaryon in the last episode transpired as results of misunderstandings. Viserys' last words of the prince that was promised and the Song of Ice and Fire as he lay dying were taken by Alicent as his dying wish that his son take up the Iron Throne. And when that dragon-back dogfight on the way from Storm's End that gets Lucerys, and Arax killed looked to be unintentional and instantly regretted by Aemond, and just happened to happen because the 2 dragons were mad at each other. And I'm going to stop right here because the 2nd season has not been released yet, and what I do know from this book is what everyone still alive here has coming to them really sucks. It sucks more than the fates of Shireen Baratheon and the Bolton baby. It sucks so bad I will not be one bit surprised if the HBO writers water it down considerably to avoid really traumatizing viewers. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, share, sponsor, and join me back next week for real for V for Vendetta.